Welcome to the holiday edition of American Dream. 3 remarkable stories that show how people right here in Michiana are doing extraordinary things with their lives and how those extraordinary things have had a positive effect on the rest of the world.
In the next half hour, you'll meet a local farmer who traveled to the most dangerous place in the world, Afghanistan. It was a selfless mission to see how he and others might help the Afghani people develop a stable source of food for starving children and adults.
You'll also see why on a cold winter morning a few years ago, a local nun was summoned by the President of the United States to a very special meeting on Air Force One.
And you'll meet a local 15-year-old high school freshman who's sharing the stage with one of the most famous bands in the history of rock and roll. I met this young lady, and I gotta tell you, she's living an incredible story you won't want to miss.
So, sit back, enjoy, and welcome to American Dream.
I'm Kip Tom. I come from a family farm business located in Kosciuszko County here in northern Indiana that comes from a family that's been there for nearly 6 generations now. You know, one of the things that really challenges our business more than anything else is, we're always trying to find solutions. Our forefathers that settled here 6 generations ago, all they did was try to feed themselves, their families. Our job, my children's job that's involved in the farm today, is to feed the people here at home and feed them well and affordably with safe food, but it's also to feed the world and change things in the world so we can help the people that are passing away every day. 22,000 people die every day from lack of good nutrition, and we want to make a change to that. We were approached by Howard Buffett and his foundation to join him on a trip to Afghanistan, Iraq, to witness firsthand some of the shortfalls and the nutritional and agriculture efforts that were going on in that country, and really see the true demand and need that they had in those countries during the war that they're experiencing right now. You'll see the faces of the people, the Afghans, and when you see a face put to the country, you all of a sudden understand these are the people I share earth with. These are the people that are in need, and so little goes so far. So much that we take for granted, they don't have. They may never have. So I think when you watch this film, you'll see that the need is great, the solutions are complex, but there are answers that we can use to make good, effective choices to help feed these people in this country of need. We can't be there forever, so the best thing we can do is transfer some of that knowledge that we've gained over the years of production of food and fiber in this country to those people to help them feed themselves.
Here, in the most dangerous part of the world. Whatever else we know, an adequate, nutritious, and self-sustaining supply of food is the single most critical component to long-term stability and the very existence of millions of men, women, and children. When the Howard G. Buffett Foundation, the Borlaug Institute, the World Food Program, and Farm Journal Foundation visited, it was in places where few other leaders in the world would ever go. Where brutal Taliban leaders once chased farmers away and then destroyed their centuries-old Buddhas of Bamiyan. To Herat, where more young people than ever before are attending agricultural college.
To be able to understand what farmers are going through in a country like Afghanistan with the history that they've had, you can't really get it unless you go talk to them.
Where poppy fields have been replaced with saffron, the world's most expensive spice. Where new ways to store crops, food processing centers, and agricultural products are beginning to create jobs and feed a starving population.
One of the things that's so striking about this is how little can mean so much to certain people that we just totally take for granted.
Where Howard Buffett donated an irrigation system for testing purposes so that farmers might someday improve yields by double cropping.
I think that it's important for us to be here, not because this doesn't go on elsewhere in the world, but because we're in an area of conflict, and this really dramatizes the need.
Where families send their little girls to school for the first time in history. Because people like you and me are donating bags of wheat to their families. And women in general are being elected to office, starting agricultural businesses and becoming breadwinners for the first time ever.
One of the great things about the task force is their approach is completely different than a vast majority of everything else going on in the federal government, and to an extent a lot of what you see going on with NGOs and other agencies.
It just comes down to getting the right people in the right places and the knowledge and the resources and the information out to those of us who can help.
Agriculture is one of the most basic things in the world. We don't think about it that way in the U.S. because, I mean, you could ask a lot of people, you'd say, where's your food come from? And they tell you, well, it comes from the grocery store. But it doesn't. I mean, it has to get there somehow. So, I mean, you know, we just don't even think about food the way most people in the world, those 5.5 billion other people, have to think about it.
A place where agricultural investment is making a real difference in the lives of everyday people.
In Afghanistan, they themselves are willing to put anything that they can into improving their livelihoods.
But you could just see a lot of pride in the girl's face when they were given their 10 kilos or 22 pounds of wheat to take home to their family. You know, they were bringing something home.
All of this from the ground up.
So you've got a group who are willing to push the boundaries within the bureaucracy to just make things happen and to just get results as soon as and fast as possible, knowing that the bottom line as it relates to either a smallholder farmer or a small shop worker somewhere in the streets in Kabul, they will have income for food, they will be able to send their children to school, you will improve security, everything else will fall into place as long as people have jobs and they feel a sense of pride in what they're doing and hope for what will happen in the future. And that's really what this task force has been built around.
Because without food, there is nothing else.
You know, the truth is that there's a huge population out there of billions of people that depend on agriculture to figure out how they're going to get through the week and through the month.
If this is the most dangerous place in the world, it's also the most hopeful. The difference is agriculture.
So agriculture is a key component of how the world's going to develop still in many years to come.
The difference is you. Farmers feeding the world.
We can't turn our backs on these people. These people make up part of the place in this globe that the rest of us do.
Farmers feeding the world. This message has been made possible in part by a grant from the Howard G. Buffett Foundation. In the middle of the Great Depression, people found hope in each other.
Once I built a railroad, made it run, made it race against time. Once I built a railroad, now it's done, brother, can you once I built a tower,
Escorted to an airfield in Chicago, Maura boarded Air Force One. Penniless, powerless, soft-spoken, and diminutive. The leader of the free world had nevertheless wanted to meet her and to thank her for doing something remarkable. At the time, it was called the Chapin Street Clinic. She and her volunteers built it in the poorest part of South Bend.
We went up to the Air Force One, had a ceremony where they gave her an award, and then we all got a tour of Air Force One. But it was a day that I'll never forget. It was funny to see Sister get frisked by the Secret Service.
Everything was scarce during the Depression. Everything but hope. And the Brannick family was practically giving it away. Anyone who came to their farm outside Chicago would leave with it. Sometimes hope looked like apples, or bread, or even money. Even though the Brannicks had none themselves, they always knew someone was worse off than they were. When Maura became a Holy Cross sister, she unexpectedly, inextricably, set out on a course that would intertwine the legacy and the mission of the congregation with legions of volunteers, donors, and citizens of this great city who are yet to be born. And most of this would happen with her irresistible force. At the tender age of 62, no one could say no to Sister Maura Brannick.
I was on the St. Joe board, and Sister Maura talked about her vision for a clinic that would serve the community of those who had nowhere else to turn.
She has such a vision about the needs of the underserved, and she's a catalyst for other people. And she always says, I don't do this by myself. This is not about me. And I think that is her gift. She brings people together and helps them recognize the need and mobilizes them to do it.
And one of the questions was, well, where are you going to get the money, Sister? And she said, well, from you guys. And I don't know that anyone has ever had the guts to tell Sister Maura no, but I wasn't going to be the first.
She's in a long tradition of people just like her, people with vision, people with big hearts, and people who know how to get things done.
Since I've become bishop here, and I've seen the mission of St. Joseph Regional Medical Center, and I'm very impressed by the fidelity to the Catholic mission that includes health care for the needy.
You know, we've always been seen as a rather pragmatic, practical congregation as we've tried to live the gospel and serve the needs of people. And Maura's in that long line. Response to need is so about who we are.
The clinic was built, rebuilt, and then built again, all in the same poor neighborhood, all under the watchful and protective eyes of a neighborhood motorcycle club called the Naptown Riders.
Well, they kind of put her under their wing.
They had a real sixth sense, so they knew what was happening over in our clinic without even actually coming over all of the time. And Sister and Sonny, who was the head of the Naptown Riders at the time, were very good. They'd go out for lunch together, and they really had our back.
Maura would have nothing to do with the film honoring her. No, this could never be about Maura. It's about St. Joseph Regional Medical Center's commitment to South Bend's poor and underserved. The congregation's commitment. It's about you, the hundreds of volunteers, the millions of dollars in support from friends, and other local organizations like South Bend Medical Foundation, who's donated millions in laboratory tests since the beginning, and the thousands of precious lives that are touched in real ways, year after year, day after day, with first-class, affordable medical care.
There are so many people who have come from all different directions to be a part of it and to make it work.
It's a calling to say, what can I do to help improve the health, the psychological health, the dental health, the medical health of this place, because then everybody's going to be better.
The staff at Chapin Street are incredible human beings with big hearts.
I think that's what Catholic healthcare is all about. I'm sure the inspiration 25 years ago by Sister Maura is her faith, and especially faith in the words of Jesus in the parable of the Last Judgment. Whatsoever you do to the least of my brothers and sisters, you do to me. And we always remember that when we serve the sick or those who are down and out in life for whatever reason, we're serving Jesus.
Serving in a neighborhood once forgotten, except by you and Sister Maura Brannock, CSC. A penniless, powerless place of never-ending faith in each other, and one irresistible force.
Contrary to popular belief, the American dream isn't about owning a home or anything else like that. It's about a way of life that the rest of the world admires, about being the underdog, and the freedom to do things and to make things out of thin air. Something from nothing, that's the American dream. By the time she was 14, this young woman had written more than a dozen beautiful songs. By her 15th birthday, she'd spent nearly a month touring off and on with the legendary rock band Chicago. Pretty remarkable for a local high school freshman. But if you ask her about her favorite performances, she'll tell you about the ones in front of men and women at local retirement homes or the Center for the Homeless. Isabella Nani is a gifted young woman who proves that the American dream is still about making something out of nothing. Her something, prose, melody, and song.
The way that a lot of female artists lately have been describing like breakups and like a guy leaving them, or I don't know, makes them like everything's wrong in their life and they can't go on. It just seems not right to me. So I came up with a really good song just about like the important stuff isn't really like, you know, winning a prize. I mean, everybody hears this, but it's kind of like all the really little things, like watching a balloon float up in the sky, or, you know, stuff like that, so yeah.
Flash the lights on all of the cars, and twirl an old couple dancing underneath the stars. One taking their very first bites, and vroom, vroom, the city at night with all those pretty lights. And little drops of water, little grains of sand make the mighty ocean and the charming land. The little minutes, though how small they seem, remind us of what the world is for eternity. And turn the pages of an old diary you found, and swing on the swing set of your old hometown, and blink the blonde little girl with the snowflakes on her lashes. And splish splash the rain when it falls on your skin and crashes. And little drops of water, little grains of sand make the mighty ocean and the charming land. The little midnights, though how small they seem, remind us of what the world is for eternity. And little drops of water, little grains of sand make the mighty ocean and the charming land. And the little midnights, though how small they seem, remind us of what the world is for eternity.
What do Isabella Nani, Sister Maura, and Kip Tom have in common?
Well, they selflessly share their gifts with their neighbors and the rest of the world, and they take nothing for granted.
These special individuals exemplify the strength and character of the American dream, and we're lucky to have them as part of our Michiana family.
We're glad to share their stories. We hope they'll inspire you as you face a new year. Thank you for watching this special edition of American Dream.
From all of us at WNDU-TV, happy holidays.